I'm loath to say they deserved it. I thought Spurs did enough in the second half to deserve to get something from the game, but they buckled at the end, and Liverpool were made courageous decisions and thrown on another forward, Origi, rather than going like for like. They took off a midfield player and went 4-2-4. It was an old 4-2-4, and at times it was kind of like a 2-1-7. They had so many players forward chasing that winning goal, but Spurs had opportunities. Liverpool were very, very open on the counter-attack, and Sissoko had probably the most clear-cut chance of the whole game, and he blew it. He hasn't scored this season in the league, in the Premier League for sure. He had the option of passing to Son. I think Van Dijk did very well to hold him up and to delay and force him into a position to take on the shot himself. I think he would have liked to release the pass to Son, but he still should have scored, and the ballooner over the bar was a bad error, and unfortunately that ended up in a bit of a catastrophe for Spurs, because the concession of the late goal killed them altogether. Just as you stated, unless something very odd happened to Manchester City. I mean, we did see a little spell earlier in the season. They lost a couple of games, but they just seem to have been rolling on, winning match after match. It doesn't seem to matter who plays. They seem to be able to get goals and beat teams convincingly. Liverpool's been a bit of a struggle. 2-1 against Fulham. The 4-2 match with Burnley wasn't too handy either for long periods of that game. 2-1 today, but they're getting the job done. And with the series of matches they have left, you think it's still possible for them to win every game. It'll be hard to do it the way they play it today. The most difficult looking match is Chelsea, obviously, but some of the other games they could falter too. But
considering how good City have been though this season, like, how big an achievement has it been for Liverpool to keep pace with them?
There's no consolation in keeping pace with them and losing at the end. I mean, both teams have an extraordinary points total. We know Manchester City got to 100 last year. They probably won't make 100 this year, and neither will Liverpool. But Liverpool have only lost one game in the whole season. Both teams still going to the Champions League. Manchester City already have won one trophy and going for the others. It looks like they could win the cup, but they're big favourites to beat Brighton. It's hard to see Brighton beating them, but the Champions League matches with Spurs will certainly have a bearing on the season, I think, because they're going to be difficult games, and they have got to play Spurs as well in the league. They have a home game, 2 home games with Spurs and 1 away game. That could be draining. You never know what injuries they'll pick up in that spell either. So, they've the harder programme. Liverpool's focus is on 2 tournaments, but I think everybody who has an interest in Liverpool knows what Liverpool want the most. They've done the Champions League one in the past. It's a good few years ago now, 2005, but they've done it. It seems it is a long time since they've won the league, and their supporters want them to win the league, and that vital goal at the end today has given them hope. I agree with you, 3 points behind, or rather in this situation where they had a match, that City would have had a match in hand
against Cardiff.
In the circumstances we're in, with a possibility of 3 points ahead and a better goal difference, I don't think Liverpool have been able to turn that around.
What a Spurs then, who have now picked up just 1 point from their last 5 games and are in a proper battle for the top 4. Just 1 point tonight separates Spurs in 3rd from Chelsea in 6th. This is probably the worst, well, unquestionably the worst run of form they've gone under Mauricio Pochettino. They've lost 10 times this season. What's going wrong?
I think it's a combination of a lot of factors. I think the stadium issue has come home to roost now. The fact that they've the worst home record of the top 6 or 7 top 6 teams this season. Spurs have the worst home record. In past couple of seasons, well, the last season in White Hart Lane, they were almost unbeatable. They were unbeatable at home. They went the whole season. Last season, they just lost 2 games at Wembley. This season, they lost 4 games at Wembley, a few draws as well. So their home form's letting them down. Wembley hasn't been great. Start of the season, think we might be in to start the season. Then it was we might be in after 4 or 5 matches. Then we might be in by Christmas or January or February. Now they're finally getting in. It'll be April, playing Crystal Palace with just a few games to go. Now, I think they've 5 home games left out of 7. If that's the case, there's a very good chance that they can garner a lot of points. There should be a momentum behind them for the rest of this season. What's gone wrong? Go back to the combination of factors. Not playing really at home. Wembley isn't great. It's okay in terms of the big deal and Wembley Stadium and tradition and all that. But as regards the opposition being frightened or hostility towards the opposition, that isn't the case there. So that's one factor. The squad, we know they've not bought a player in the last 3 transfer windows, not had a player come in. They haven't. There's been a lack of depth to the squad, depending on bringing some youngsters through, and we've seen young Ship and Winks and so on, and Walker Peters getting the opportunity, but they haven't been able to deal with the pressure to win, the pressure to keep the Champions League going. The league is, and they've pulled off great results in the Champions League where it looked like their chances were gone in the early stages when they were left in a situation where they had to get big results in the last 3 games in the Champions League. It looked like their number was up, but they pulled her out, and now they pulled her out against Dortmund, and they're still going. They've got Manchester City, but they haven't been able to do it the way Manchester City and Liverpool have because of the lack of depth in the squad and the issue and the fact that so many of the players are going off playing international football. So many of the players are in the English team, down the spine of the team. Numerous factors, but again, you can't just keep getting away with the same players playing all the time and hoping to win matches at this level.